You're listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, card shop, arcade, theme park, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast presented by the Major Pod Network. I'm the man they call Johnny Clash.
And I am Mr. Anything is Feasible, and today we are playing Fire Pro Gaiden Blazing Tornado. How is this game gonna hold up? Is it gonna get a play it forever? Woo! Or a future endeavor?
You're fired!
We also discuss retro consoles and the final numbers for Gameboree 2022.
And please subscribe and leave a 5-star review for this podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. And don't forget, you can get this episode early and ad-free at patreon.com/GameMarksPod. Are you only Mr. Anything is Feasible now? You're not George Feis anymore?
Did I not say?
I just want to know. Like, I know you got 2 shows on the network now. I don't know if your other boss changed your name, or you only listen to Swoggle now, and he said, no, you're this.
Did I only say that I'm Mr. Anything is Feasible? Did I not say Mr. Anything is Feasible, George Feis?
No, you didn't say your full name. Now nobody knows who you are.
Oh,
but that's okay.
Guys, I'm very sorry. No, but I told you. This
George,
is my number one.
What's your name?
My name.
It doesn't matter what your name is. All right, let's talk real quick. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Let's talk about Game Marks Mania, which happened last week. George, we had a great time with the fans on Twitch, raising more money for St. Jude. If you know us, you know this is one thing we look forward to every single year. We played some TNA Impact. We tried to play some 2K22. It didn't really work out too well. We played some other games. It was a really, really good time. And the final number of Gameboree, we raised $2,565, which is absolutely incredible. A little bit less than last year, but that's okay. This is all going straight to St. Jude. It's already there in the GoFundMe. Go check it out if you'd like. But I think it was another successful year. Another great time we could donate to one of our favorite charities.
Absolutely. Like you said, it's something that we look forward to doing every year. I think it may be one of the best things that we do every year, using this platform for a little bit of good in the world. So look forward to it every year. Can't wait to start planning what we do for next year.
Yeah, we always like to go bigger and better. We'll see what happens next year. But let's talk now about last week's episode, Impact Wrestling. We got some follow-up here. We had a lot of people respond about this game. A lot of good, a lot of bad, as you would imagine with a game like this. I'm going to read some here. So PSHU Fernal, I don't know how to say this name, Leo, says, had its issues, but it was fun. Hated the half entrances the most. That's something we touched on last week. We kind of like the half entrances. You don't need the guy walking in the ring and all that. Just do your thing and get out. Now, TWK Official says the game certainly has its charms, especially having Tenay and West perform some of the best commentary in any wrestling game.
And surgery, too, technically.
And surgery in the story mode. I gotta say, commentary is not something we really spoke much about, but we should have, because it was pretty damn good. It was very arcadey, like things just came up, they said things, and it wasn't like full-on play-by-play, but it reminded me a lot of like WrestleMania, the arcade game, with like Vince McMahon saying things.
That's a good comparison.
Like WrestleFest, Retromania, all those. Like it wasn't full on play by play. It was like just cool commentary here and there. I liked it a lot. JP3 the Demon says, I remember getting heated versing Jeff Jarrett in career mode. Sure, the game wasn't great, but it was a cool thing having TNA as a video game. I agree with everything he said, including Jeff Jarrett. I told you my secret last week. I used to tuck behind the steel steps and Watch him trip over the steps, and that's how I would beat him. Now, last week, live on air, I purchased those trading cards.
Yes.
I have in my hand those trading cards.
Let's talk about it.
So, not a good haul. I'll say that. Not a good haul.
We're buying pack 2, right, John?
We'll think about it. Only 5 cards came in this pack. So we're going to start out with Mike Tenay.
Okay.
The card everybody's dying for. Salinas.
Okay.
A.k.a. Shelly Martinez, or Ariel, I guess, whatever company you're listening
depending
to.
on the brand, yeah.
Chris Sabin. That's a cool one.
That's a good one.
Raisha Saeed, who I believe was cheerleader Melissa?
I think.
And this is, I think, the most interesting one, which I sent to Danny Tancredi of the Card Foundation podcast. It's a Kevin Nash card, but it says Thoughts by Big Sexy Kevin Nash, and it looks like he's in an old TV.
Ooh.
It's got a weird picture of him in street clothes, much like the game. And then the back is kind of just a little blurb he said about having a Cookie Rojas card as a kid. Like about collecting cards. Yeah, it's one of the more unique cards I've ever seen.
Okay.
I'm just going to tuck these now away in this card box I have below me that has a ton of Impact and SmackDown and et cetera cards.
That's an interesting pack of cards. So no SIG.
No SIG, no. That was pretty disappointing. Mike today's number 64. That's the highest my cards go up to, and Sabin's 29. So there's at least 64 cards in this set.
I wonder how many packs that person has that was selling them.
Yeah, I don't know, because there was more available.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, these cards look nice. They're like harder than normal cards. They're like
a thicker card stock, or
way thicker. Okay. And the way that this Kevin Nash one's printed is almost like a business card. Like, it's not that good quality.
Huh.
And this is TriStar Production. So anyway, that's a little bit of a card breaking here. I don't know how to break cards and all that crap, so this is the best you're going to get out of me.
This is the first of potential many card breaks on.
Yeah, totally. We sure broke those cards. I'd like to break that Kevin Nash card.
When I think of all the things that we're known for on this podcast, card breaks.
Yeah.
Slowly climbing the ranks.
Yeah. So we also need a moment of silence real quick, George. I want to say rest in peace to the Google Stadia.
Yeah.
It had a solid 3-year run, and solid's definitely a term that we were going to use loosely. It came to an end last night as of recording on the 18th. There were some streamers that were live during the time that Stadia got shut down, and you could see on their stream, the game freezes. It goes back to the screen and says, there's a problem here. Whoops, something went wrong, and they can't go back in. So that sucks, because there are people that did play the Google Stadia, and in theory, it's a console that should have worked, but it didn't. So the cool thing here, what Google did, we mentioned a few weeks ago on the podcast, is they refunded you for all the hardware, the games, and everything. So if you had any Stadia equipment over the past 3 years, you could get a full refund for it. So they know the project failed. You're not going to just be left with all this crap. You get everything back. They also gave you a grace period, I think, of 3 months where you didn't have to subscribe, and you could finish playing your games for free. So they gave you a heads up. The coolest part, the controller, because Stadia is only a controller. So the controller, they put Bluetooth on it, so you can now use it anywhere. You could use it on a PC, a Mac, your phone if you want. So they made it completely not useless, and I know I'm going to be looking on eBay for a cheap one coming soon, so I could have a nice PC controller.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the information around this, and it seems that as long as you have your controller connected to the computer, you can switch it to Bluetooth mode just by visiting the website stadia.google.com/controller.
Only until a certain point, I think. I think there's a cutoff.
Yes.
If not, you have to use a USB-C on it, which is not that bad either.
No, but just it's good to know. Hey, it's there.
But George, I got a little figure right here.
Oh,
you see this beautiful Elite 94 Edge?
I seem to remember us talking about this over the last couple of weeks. Could you please remind me as to what the circumstances for one to obtain said figure would be?
All you have to do is leave a review on Apple Podcasts, screenshot it, send it to us on Twitter at GameMarksPod, and you could win this very Elite 94 Edge courtesy of Zavi. And I already have next month's in my possession, so there will be another contest next month as well. But I will not reveal who that is yet.
Oh.
But is that it? Are you ready? Are we ready to take the plunge, the deep dive into Fire Pro Gaiden Blazing Tornado?
I am as ready as I will ever be for this arcade console split classic thing. Are you ready? I'm ready. You asked me, so I guess you're ready.
Hey, George. You see this light here that says Game Over that I point to at the end of every single episode, like Ronda Rousey pointing to that WrestleMania sign?
I do.
Do you know where I got it?
Why don't you tell me?
I got it from Zavi. That's us.zavi.com, Z-A-V-V-I, and they literally have everything. I have spent hours on this website looking up Mandalorian, Jurassic Park, Harry Potter, like everything you could imagine. There's Legos, Power Rangers. You could pre-order the new Marvel Legends. It's an insane website that has literally everything pop culture. There's even Batman shoes on here.
I mean, I know for me, a little like adult Zen garden project that I like to do is like the smaller Lego sets, and Zavi has a lot of those Lego sets on there and getting kind of itchy. So if you like all things pop culture, like John said, Disney, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Harry Potter, Nintendo, they're even getting into the wrestling game now.
Oh yeah.
Zavi is the place for you.
That's right. Use code GameMarks, simply just GameMarks, at checkout, and you can get 10% off.
I'm going to redo my wardrobe. All right, of course, guys, the deep dive always brought to you by our friends at Zavi. Let's talk about it, guys. Fire Pro Gaiden Blazing Tornado released August 25th, 1995 for the Sega Saturn.
The Sega Saturn. You got to say it right.
Sorry. Published by human, developed by human.
Yes, it was developed by a human.
By Human Entertainment. Other games in 1995. You've got All Japan Pro Wrestling 2, 3, 4, Budokan. You've got Super Fire Pro Wrestling Queen Special, Wrestling Universe Fire Pro Women Dome, Super Female Big Battle All Japan vs. JWP. You've got
I was
All
waiting
Japan.
for the day you'd have to read that one again.
Yep. You've got All Japan Women's Pro Wrestling Queen of Queens, New Japan Pro Wrestling 96 Battle 7 in Tokyo Dome, New Japan Pro Wrestling Tokkan Retsuden for the PlayStation and what other console, John?
The Wonder Swan.
And JWP Joshi Poresu. Wrestling Universe Fire Pro Women's Dome Super Female Big Battle All Japan Women vs. JWP, and that's on the list twice because it releases for the TurboGrafx 16 and then again for the TurboGrafx CD. You've got Super Fire Pro Wrestling X and of course WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game. Woo. Stacked long list of games with even longer names.
It's mostly Japanese titles, which is cool, but the consoles are all over the place, which is also cool. You don't have to just get it for just one. So the game at hand here is a port of an arcade game just called Blazing Tornado. That one was released internationally, but this Sega Saturn port was exclusive to Japan. So this is all that you get as far as this one goes. Now, it's different than every other Fire Pro that you're thinking of. George says it in our playthrough. The second it loads up, very Street Fighter-ish. It's got the same art style, really. It's got... Where Fire Pro, I think the characters might be a little smaller and more what do you say, like stocky, I guess?
Yeah, this almost had a almost like a Saturday Night Slam Masters quality to it.
Yeah, like they looked like actual people more than little caricatures people.
Yeah, they were a little more like fleshed out. They're very arcadey looking.
Yeah, very Street Fighter. Like you're seeing the full body, not just those little Fire Pro sprites, which is cool. It's a good little change of pace. Now, the Saturn version is deemed superior because in the arcade version, it's still fun. It's fun to play. It's a lot harder, but it's more button mash because you're sitting at an arcade. I know you closing your eyes right now, you could hear those buttons clicking.
Yes.
You could hear that sound. You're clicking the shit out of those buttons. But in this version, in the Fire Pro version, it's based on the Fire Pro timing that we're all used to, where it's not button mashing. If you button mash, you're not going to pull any moves off here. So it's a lot of fun. Now, the game modes. You have the circuit, which is a one-player mode where you're on your quest for the Neo Heroic Championship, and it's a round-robin tournament, which is, I think, typical in an arcade game.
It's that climbing the ladder, however you want to put it.
Yeah. Now, your elimination mode, which is a team single elimination match. Your power battle mode, which is an endurance game where one wrestler faces all of the wrestlers. And if you watch the playthrough, I feel like the guy I was playing against was doing the endurance battle against me.
Yes.
Who was all the wrestlers.
You were at the first stage and you got dominated.
It was absolutely insane. You could also get instructions on how to play right from the home screen and options where you could change the options. Now, I played the arcade game. There were no options. It was one difficulty. It was inserting coins digitally. But this one, you can actually lower the difficulty if you have to. The circuit mode was cool, though, because like Street Fighter and like those other games, it's based on like regions.
Yeah.
And you can start where the beginning, like Japan, and work your way around until you get to the final battle and win that championship.
Travel, bounce around, yeah.
But I thought it was cool that after each match, there's almost like a promo. Like the guy says stuff on the bottom, like the old WWF games, about
It's very Street Fighter too, but also just a lot of arcade fighters did that in this time, where just like everything has that like post-match, like trash talk.
It's also very specific to the wrestler that you were, so that's cool. It's not just generic text.
Yes.
Like I was the guy in the mask, and it said like, "Oh, doesn't that mask make you suffocate or something?" Hayate. Yeah, so that was cool. I think the whole presentation of the matches are cool also because you start with the presenter in the middle of the ring announcer in the suit, looking like Chris Jericho at the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and they do the whole entrance. You could skip it if you'd like. And then there's the ref who looks like Hector Guerrero meets Dan Severn. It's not good old Red Shoes from the other games.
But let's talk about this in terms of like the presentations of the matches. Anytime you leave the ring, you go up on the top rope. This game loves a zoom. Whether it's a zoom in or a zoom out. If you go up on the top rope or you're outside of the ring, it pans out so you can see the whole arena. You get like a drone shot of the arena. And then if you are hitting a big grapple move or you are doing any kind, I guess, big strikes, big grapple moves, it will zoom in to the point that it actually like almost cuts off the heads of the wrestlers. So you can really see the impact when they hit the mat, which is a cool feature, but I think it was a little too dramatic. Like it zooms in and zooms out too much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's also like pixelates it. It's not zooming in properly. It's zooming in like where it's at and pixelating it. So it looks like it's a mistake or a glitch, but it's not.
It's a weird concept. I don't hate it. I just wish it was executed a little better. Like the concept of it to make moves feel more dramatic and stuff like that. Like a lot of games do that when they use a lot of different tricks to do it, whether it's slow mode or in what is it, Day of Reckoning, where they give you that little like the little like fade effect.
Yeah, and I think one of the SmackDowns like it turned red.
Yeah. Like, those are cool. This would have been cool if it wasn't as, zoomed in to like 300% or zoomed out to like.
It's also 20 years before some games, so.
It's true. It's true.
But okay. Do you want me to take this roster here?
I don't know. I feel bad making you do it. I'll take it.
All right, you take it, because, I don't want to read that last name.
Yeah, I don't either. Your roster for Fire Pro Gaiden Blazing Tornado is as follows. Daijiro Zama, Baron Firebird, Wolf McSchneider, John Bantline Saigo, Hayate, Ho Yin Long, Eric Starback, Jailbreaker Bullnoy, and Heisel Schustat von Ludwig.
That's what I'm going to call you from now on.
You're going to call
Either
me
that or
Heisel Schustat?
Heisel Schustat. George.
God bless you.
Good one. I want to go deeper into like the art style here, the cover and all that, because I think it all goes hand in hand. You kind of know what you're getting from the cover because, first of all, it's got like some weird purple cloudy effect behind it, which makes no sense with a blazing tornado. It looks like...
Well, that's what a blazing tornado looks like, John.
Yeah, totally. With just a wrestling ring floating in the middle of it. Yeah. But then you have illustrations of all the wrestlers in the game, which we've seen many times before, and it's such a cool art style because they're in-game characters. They're like depicted as actual wrestlers, which is like a selling point of a game that you might not be too familiar with. Well, so what?
Oh, I was going to say, we always say knowing what you're getting into, and you can't not understand this is a wrestling game. There's a wrestling ring on the cover. Whether or not it's in the void between worlds is another thing, but it is a wrestling ring, and you could very clearly see that.
Very clearly a wrestling ring. Now, I could not find a picture of the cabinet that this would go in. I'm gonna keep going throughout the week and see if I can get one maybe for next week. I know I hear you typing. You're going to Google search the same thing I Google search. So
probably
if you can find it, good luck. But I'm hoping that these same characters are on it. And I think the Sega Saturn like side, whatever you want to call that, the little like spine on the side is not something we're familiar with. We haven't played that many Sega Saturn games. But one thing that was brought up during our playthrough was the controller. And it might take the cake. Like the original classic, like big one. Oh my God, I'm looking at it now. It might take the cake as the ugliest controller in the world. It's like a big round disc with the buttons on it. Like, how do you even hold that thing? Eventually, they went back to like what the Sega like Genesis looked like that similar control. But oh my God, the original one with the big bulbous, looks like a Discman. Like, does it play discs? I don't know.
It's so okay. So we a lot of the times we'll look at controllers and we'll be like, "Oh, okay, I can see the functionality of this." And like this one, it's a head scratcher for sure.
Yeah, I don't. It's like if the Dreamcast controller was worse. If that's possible.
I threw a thing in the notes.
I see it.
I don't know the legitimacy of it.
It looks like a cabinet, but it also looks like a render of a cabinet, so I'm not entirely sure. We can't be sure, I guess, if that's really it or not.
Yeah, it's weird. I've never like...
Because, like, the buttons look like fake. Like, with the fake shine on them and stuff. Plus, the screen is cutting into the joysticks. So, I think it's fan-made, but I would like to imagine that this is what it looks like.
Yeah, probably something like this. I also haven't seen this artwork anywhere. That's on the bottom cabinet. Like the bottom section of the cabinet, so I was like, "Oh, that's got to be from somewhere." Like they just make this up.
Yeah, I don't know. The Game Marks podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming, providing precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. The Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and oh man, is it a game changer.
It's the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. The Performance Package 4.0 comes with the Lawnmower 4.0, body hair trimmer, the Weed Whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, below the belt toner and deodorant, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all your goodies.
It's definitely holding all my goodies, if you know what I mean. Over 7 million men worldwide trust Manscaped with their grooming needs, and we've got an exclusive offer for all of the Game Marks out there. You can get 20% off your order and free worldwide shipping just by using the code GameMarks at manscaped.com.
Unlock your confidence and always use the right tool for the job with Manscaped. Manscaped.com and use code GameMarks.
Sections on it. It's cool.
Yeah.
I just like when you put some time and effort into this type of stuff. As a designer, as an artist, I like seeing it. So let's go into the art style. When the game starts up, there's your fire and your blazing tornado. You get the fiery background with the logo coming in with the press start. This is where you insert your credits. Now, I don't know how that worked on a Sega Saturn.
I don't think you did. I think that part is.
For me, like, I feel like you would just...
I think you just hit
okay,
start.
right. We played the arcade port, so that makes sense. That's why I put 99 credits in. So yeah, the Sega Saturn, there wouldn't be that. And then you get to either, like we said, all those game modes before. You could do the circuit or go through all of the wrestlers if you so choose, which you might anyway because you're going to be losing a lot.
Yeah.
The character select screen, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wrestlers, and then
simple, clean, to the point.
Yeah, it's simple. You show your wrestler below, like their artistic illustration, I guess you could say, and then the actual sprite of the wrestler comes up top. Depending on what button you press, you get different outfits for the person. You can get either the alt or their base outfit. So that's kind of cool that there's something extra in there. I guess that's so. If you both pick the same person, you could differentiate yourself. A lot of game companies did this at the time. It was like the same if you played like Cruisin' World. You could like hit the camera button and change the color, or you could hit another button and like change the style of the car. Like this was just a big thing for arcade cabinets at the time, where like you hit the standard like whatever. I thought you'd go WrestleMania arcade game in here, but it's there's a lot of different options. There's a million different, but for some reason the one that I always remember is just Cruisin' World, where you hit the camera buttons and it, you could get like the school bus or whatever. Did you have the PlayStation like steering wheel and all that?
No, I was never a big like home like steering wheel guy.
Oh, it was terrible. I think I used it for Driver.
Okay.
And then Driver 2, you actually got out of the car and you still had to use the steering wheel, so it was like complete trash. And
that I didn't
play many racing games, but we digress. Let's get back in here. Guy. So we're not used to seeing health bars like this on a Fire Pro style game. And really, it doesn't seem like a Fire Pro when you're in there, other than the ring turned 3/4 of the way. That's really it. But there is a health bar with a score under it, and you show a little icon of who's who, and then you have the time, and that's really, I don't know, like to say this looks like a Fire Pro, it doesn't. I think everything's more detailed in this.
Yeah. I want to say this about the gameplay. Time moves by very fast in this game.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't notice enough if the clock goes fast or if so much happens in the game, like during your matches, that the matches themselves just go by very fast.
No, it's an arcade game, so I feel like it's 2-3 minute tops. They don't want you to sitting at the thing all day. They want your quarters.
Boy, does this game eat quarters. Whew.
Yeah, but as far as like the roster goes, I think everyone looks cool. There's some masked wrestlers. There's some big guys. There's some generic-looking vanilla baby faces in there. I think everyone looks like an actual wrestler. The ring looks great. The outside mats, for once, are not like those little lines that make it look like a mat. It actually has like texture and detail. The
ring aprons and the canvas in the ring all have their own unique graphics depending on where you were. Obviously,
the crowd.
HWF is the Heroic Wrestling Federation. You see that logo a million times throughout the game. It's on the side. It's on the skirts of the ring. It changes on the canvas of the ring depending on what location you're at. But yeah, John, let's go talk about that crowd, man.
The crowd, you see, like, kind of, because you're grabbing weapons from the crowd during the matches, or you're just kind of walking around the ring, maybe, because you could get thrown over the ropes by being blown on in this.
Let's talk about those weapons. What are those weapons? You got a freaking glass bottle. A steel chair, a table, or a skateboard. I can't tell which one it is.
And anything goes. There's no DQ either. You just use them at your will.
You just got to beat the 20 count.
But when you lose, it sends you up through the crowd. You look all sad. The timer comes down, and then it says continue. And when you press continue, the crowd starts cheering, and you turn the other way and run back towards the ring, and that's where you could select a new character.
Which is cool.
That was the coolest feature, I think, so far.
And that is the thing that screams arcade to me. Not, like, there are a lot of things that jump out to me about this game that it's an arcade game, but the down in the dumps protagonist that you're playing as suddenly when you hit the start button, like, jumps up and cheers, and like the crowd goes, like, that is the most, like, give me your quarters. Like,
again, like WrestleMania the arcade game, how they come through the crowd.
There you go. Everything comes back to WrestleMania the arcade game.
The guy's dazed, and then you go to the next opponent. Okay. I think there was one more thing I wanted to discuss here. Now I can't think of what it was.
Was it the conversation about the map? Was it the fact that there's technically a tutorial, which is nice in games that maybe you're not so familiar about?
Oh, I think it was. Did you know? Did you know for unlimited continues, hold X, Y, and Z while choosing credits at the option screen?
Did you know to unlock... of course you made it this way. To unlock Heisel Schutzstadt von Ludwig, choose Ho Yin Long and press left L, R, and B.
Did you know Fire Pro Gaiden Blazing Tornado is on eBay from $6 to $21 used and $35 sealed? Ooh. So, okay, you do put in credits in the Sega Saturn version also. Because there's a...
Yeah, I guess it is still an arcade fire. I think you just hit... I guess it's just hit and start.
Yeah, well, this is telling you how to do unlimited credits. So I guess it's a certain amount, and then... there's been some games like that, so I understand.
Yeah.
I get it.
Maybe they treat credits like lives and...
Yeah, for sure. All right. But it's time to sit back, relax, because it's time for some R&R, some rating and reviews. So guess what? The game FAQ user ratings, little PNG icons of the stars and all that, they came back, so we know what we're talking about here. So the product rating is a 3.5 out of 5 stars, which is considered good. The difficulty is a 3 out of 5, which I would put it maybe at like a 4 or 5. And the length, hours played, is 11 hours, which is considered short. So I have a few more here. Satakori.com, which is just a game aggregator, gives us a 3 out of 5 stars, which converts to a 6 out of 10. And Launchbox gives us a 5 out of 5 community rating. Now, if we're looking at the graphics here, but not as much the gameplay, like if you're like looking at the game and like, oh, cool, a wrestling game in an arcade or on my Sega Saturn, it's visually impressive. Everything in here is beautiful.
Yeah, 100%.
But like you said last week, then the bell rings. But with that, I think we can give our opinions now. It's time to rate the game.
The game!
George Feis, Tell me what you're thinking. Will you play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
So, going back to an old thing that we haven't reminded ourselves about in a while, and that is, in order for a game to be good, the multiplayer factor needs to be taken out of it. And just because it's fun to play with someone doesn't necessarily make it a great game. So, this is a interesting take on a wrestling arcade game. I do not think it is the best wrestling arcade game. And I think I'm going to give it a future endeavor because of that.
You're fired!
There's just something about it. If it was, I don't know, not crazy about the game. The art style just doesn't do enough to save it. And I just think there may not be enough to, push it over the edge for a play it forever.
All right.
And now I turn it to you, Johnny Clash. Will you play it forever or future endeavor?
Just go to our playthrough on YouTube and watch my frustration when playing this game. Now, I played it alone. I didn't play it with George. He was just there for moral support and commentary. This is a hard future endeavor.
You're fired!
I think, like I said before, the only redeeming qualities of this game are how pretty it is and how nice it looks, but the gameplay is impossible. It's not like every other Fire Pro where it's just paced, it's nice, you could do things. It is bang, 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 bang. You have to hit... The arcade version is even just ridiculous with how fast you have to tap the buttons and all that. So the Sega Saturn one, I would assume, is just a little bit easier because of that Fire Pro timing. But still, future endeavor, there's no reason to go back to this game.
All right.
It's gone. See ya. Goodbye. Arrivederci.
A big old future endeavor.
A big old future endeavor.
Double future.
Yeah.
And with that, John, I think it is time for us to head on over to the soft lock.
Soft lock.
All right, the soft lock is a segment on the podcast where one of our mega marks gives us a topic, a question. You call it the question of the week if you want, where John and I go back and forth and we debate, discuss this topic. And this week it comes from Will McDonough, also known as the Big Beefy Bagel Boy. John has it in the notes as Bagel Boy Will. And Will's question is, what is the most recent console that you considered to be retro? And this is going to make a lot of us feel real old.
There's been a lot lately going back and forth on Twitter that I saw like a graphic that said, which era did you start in? And it was all the different eras of consoles. And I started in the NES era. That's what we had at my house, and that's what we started playing before the Sega Saturn, Sega Genesis and all that. And then I saw another person tweet and saying, are any of the gamers on Twitter here old enough to remember the PS2? And I said, what the fuck do you mean? Of course we remember the PS2.
To remember?
So to young kids... Young kids are talking about the PS2 as if it's like the NES, and I don't like it at all. I don't know if I'm old man yells at cloud here, but that is absolutely absurd and ridiculous.
Both of us are old men yelling at clouds now, John. I think that's just our place in society now.
To think it's about 20 years old at this point. But for me personally...
I gotta think about this.
I want to cut it off at the PlayStation and the N64 era. I'm not ready for like PS2 to be retro yet.
I'm inclined to agree with you.
I'm going to look up.
But I'm going to say...
PS2 came out in 2000.
Yeah, I'm going to say that generation is where I'm cutting it off. So anything before the PS3 and the Xbox 360, I'm going to consider retro now.
So that's Dreamcast, GameCube,
PS2.
and PS2. And the original Xbox.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, my God.
I mean, I am sorry if that answer makes anyone feel old. I would like you to know that me saying that sentence, I just got 4 more gray hairs from me saying that. I also feel very old.
Well, the PS3 came out in 2006. That's not much better.
It's not. It's not.
Man,
And you know what the craziest thing about all this is that a lot of the consoles that we're saying are retro still hold up. And the games do too.
Oh, absolutely. I think... I'll say the PS3 era, PS3, that's 360 and all that, I think was the greatest era of games ever. There's a long pause. George is...
Because ever is a bold statement.
Well, they're obviously going to keep getting better and better and better and better, but I feel like it was so innovative. There was so much to play. It was all online. Everyone was... playing together.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as you. I do think I agree with you on that one. I remember so clearly sitting in my dorm room playing on my roommate's PlayStation 3 Resistance. Do you remember that game?
No.
It was Resistance Fall of Man, I think was the name of the game.
That part sounds familiar. I don't really...
I guarantee you if you saw the cover, you would know what it
maybe.
is. But, and then that was in college was the first Call of Duty, like I think it was Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the original, or, I don't know. I'm trying to think what the first Call of Duty that I played online was.
I was a late bloomer. I was Modern Warfare 2.
I think I was Modern Warfare. In college, in my dorm room, like, whoa.
I gameflied World at War.
Ooh.
That's how old that is.
See, I was already doing all this stuff on PC for years that
George did it before all of us. He was on the keyboard before all of us.
No, I wasn't, I never expected it to be, like, a big thing on consoles. Because, like, I don't know, we had how many generations of console with, like, little to no or very poor internet like activity. Like even the PlayStation 2 had the thing that you had to plug into the back of the original one, and like a handful of games used it and it was shoddy at best. Some used it and they were very successful, but not everyone used it.
I had the Slim, so it was built in.
Yes, and then they had the Slim, which was built in, which I do remember us talking about that because I love to bring up that I had the big chunky network adapter. You're like, I had the one that was built in.
But that was like, I had to be playing in my living room. I had to run the Ethernet from the router. Like, it was such a bitch.
Yeah.
And then the Xbox had that stupid little Wi-Fi adapter that never worked. Oh, my God.
They had one for the GameCube, too. You plugged into the bottom of the GameCube.
Yeah, but barely. Not barely. We've covered that. Barely any games use that. You know what was the stupidest thing about the Xbox, the original Xbox?
The controller was a loaf of bread?
No, the controller group was great. Come on. The controllers now evolved from that one.
Oh, the original Xbox controller was so...
the fact that it came with a DVD player, but you couldn't use it unless you had the DVD remote accessory that plugged into the controller port.
That is dumb.
That was really dumb.
That is very dumb.
Yeah. You know who didn't have that? Me. So I couldn't watch DVDs for a while. But anyway, yeah, okay. I guess we're going to go with what do we consider the retro console, the PS2? I feel like 20 years is that cutoff mark, and PS3 just ain't there yet, so...
No, I mean, she's gonna get there.
3 more years. 3 more years,
man. That's scary.
Oh, boy.
That's very scary.
Let us know what you think. Check us out. Follow us on Twitter. Tell us.
Yeah. And I guess with that, John, you ready to let the people know what we're doing next week? I want you to do this one since this was your idea.
All right, next week, we're not going to play a game per se. We are covering an article by David Bixenspan, The Lies and Lawsuits That Changed Wrestling Video Games Forever. This covers THQ with WWE and WCW bidding for it, and the switch from the AKI games and all that. We're going to cover all of it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's a very long article, so I think if we can break it down into
generations,
I'll break it down into like a condensed podcast that explains it all. It would be nice, and yeah. I want to hear what everyone has to think, and it's going to be cool. It's full of info some people might not know about with Jack Specific and all that. And yeah, let's do it.
It'll be a cool little thing. All right, guys, youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast for our weekly playthrough videos, exclusive content, and a whole lot more. There is an entire backlog, years worth of episodes of GMP64 for Season 1. Make sure to go and check that out. GameMarksPod.com/shop for all of our exclusive merchandise. ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod for our new shirt designs. Patreon.com/GameMarksPod for this show early and ad-free. At Game Marks Pod on all forms of social media. And please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell. And make sure to leave us a 5-star review and rating on both Apple Podcast and Spotify. And if you want that Elite Edge figure, make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcast, screenshot it, and send it on over to us, or tweet it at us at GameMarksPod. And if you have a product or service that you would like to advertise on this podcast, please reach out to us at GameMarksPod@gmail.com. Johnny Clash, we've done the thing. We did the dance. We blazing tornadoed. We Heisel Schutzstadt the Von Ludwig. And now I would like you to do that thing that you do.
Game over, Marks. See you next time.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.